Yes.
Hi everybody, welcome to the April 21st, 2026 Garrison Board of Education regular business meeting and BOCE's budget vote. Dusty, will you please call the roll?
Jocelyn Appicello. Here. Eric Arnold.
Here.
Jennifer Harrington Wilson. Here. Dan Jasnow.
Here.
Peter Lester.
Here.
Ken Schott.
Here.
Sarah Jones. Here.
Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll do it. I'm going to motion for a agenda change to move item 11I, which is our instructional appointment of our probational Spanish teacher, up to the first item on the agenda, or the next item on the agenda. So that will move it from 11I to item 3, I believe. Is that right?
We can just pull out item I.
Okay, great.
Second.
Thank you. Any other changes to the agenda? No. Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, so we will move on to our very exciting first item, which is to welcome our new Spanish teacher, Haley Colombo. We're very excited to have you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your family. Let me read this resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, does hereby appoint Haley Colombo to a 3-year probationary appointment as Spanish teacher in the tenure area of foreign language, effective August 26, 2026 through August 25, 2029, at an annual salary consistent with MA Step 15 of the GTA Bargaining Unit Agreement. May I have a motion?
Second.
And we vote, and then do you want to?
It's your show.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. Welcome to Garrison. Dr. Stoll, do you want to?
Yes, I've been chomping at the bit to say a few things about Haley. This board knows finding a Spanish teacher, we're all in competition. All the school districts are in competition with each other to find a Spanish teacher. But to find one that has 15 plus years of experience, who has high school experience, to find somebody that has been a world language coordinator, meaning running the department, to have that level of expertise, and want to come to little old Garrison and be part of our GUFS family with the excitement that Haley brings to it. I have to say, I've done some hiring since I've been here, and you may be the most excited person to come here, and we like that. So we're really excited. Hands down, Haley, through our really, and I have to thank Ms. Semig and Mr. McDonald for leading the charge on a really thorough interview process. I will be, the competition is fierce. The pool is shallow. There are not a lot of Spanish teachers out there. To have somebody want to come here of Haley's caliber is incredible. The kids responded to her well in the demo lesson. She blew away the committee members of staff and administrators, and we just want to welcome Haley. We couldn't be more excited for you being here. I will say, since we did move an agenda item, if you don't mind coming to the podium and just saying a word or two to introduce yourself to the board and the community, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
This is your final test on the interview process.
In English or Spanish? Oh, a combination.
Surprise us, Sarah.
Okay, well, first of all, nice to meet you all. Mucho gusto. As you just heard, I'm Haley Colombo, the new Spanish teacher. I'm very excited to join the GUFS family. I knew stepping into this building that this is a very special place. I knew upon meeting the leaders in charge that everybody here seems overly happy to be here, and I can't wait to be one of you guys. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me, to answer all my questions about everything, and for allowing me to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Or compliments?
Not yet, I'm sure there'll be many. But,
Thank you.
just another warm welcome to Garrison. We're very glad to have you, and don't feel obligated to stay for the full board meeting.
I mean, I do have the baby.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we will move right into superintendent's report.
How do I follow that up? I can't. All right. Meetings off to college. A couple things, fun things to talk a little bit about. We are this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We are 11 strong staff members and leadership that are going to field the Garrison team for the Putnam County Autism Awareness Walk. I've been sending reminders out. Give of your time, come support us. If you can donate a few dollars to this really incredible cause, that QR code which has been sent out, no amount is too little, no amount is too big. This is something near and dear to my heart, as the board knows and many community members know. My career began in special education. I'm a special educator. I work with students who are neurodiverse, particularly students with autism, pretty much my whole career, even as a leader. And this is something that I think is really important. And so if you can support us in any way, big or small, we really appreciate it. I want to thank the Garrison Teachers Association for fielding such a large team, a cause that we believe is incredibly important. So QR code is there. I'll be sending reminders out to raise funds and donations for this incredibly important organization. The other thing I want to report, again, I'll remind people a million times, we're really excited about our Youth Climate Summit. We have an incredible jam-packed day of learning for our students and some surrounding school districts. It's really going to be an incredible learning experience for our kids. We have folks like Regent Dr. Fran Wills coming. Other dignitaries have been invited. And you know, it's really, I think, a point of pride for our school district. It's something that over the past year and this year, we're really trying to tweak it a little bit each year to make it more student friendly, to make it more about the work. And we're really excited about that. But we also want, which we didn't do last year because the students gave us feedback that it was just too much of a day. And we didn't run it last year. But we realized the importance of bringing the community together and celebrating, and so we tweaked the celebration to be just that, a celebration. Come with your students. The students don't have to come. We have some students that are excited to share some projects that will be out. We'll have some food trucks available for purchase. And we really want not to try to inundate our families with like knowledge, but we want them to come and peruse and enjoy and celebrate this monumental task that our kids and staff just undertook. So come, save the date, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Friday, May 29th. Really want to celebrate with the Garrison community. And hopefully a lot of kids will show up and show their guardians or parents their projects and really just have a fun evening. Here we go. So, you know, we've had a lot of discussions about our outdoor classroom project. I think, you know, from the committee's work to budget deliberations to facilities committees, we've gotten a lot of really great feedback. We've gotten a lot of really great and important questions, and it's so hard to encapsulate all of that into any talking points or bullet points. And so what we've been doing lately is community members have been sending emails, asking questions. We want you to come in. Come on in, have a cup of coffee. We've Mike, myself, and Krista Bucola, our environmental educator, we'll go through the project and what it is and what it isn't, and clear up any misconceptions, answer questions. We have community members coming in this week. We really want to just make sure everybody has an opportunity to have their questions answered, to get some feedback from people about what concerns are. But I'm just going to kind of give an overview of what it is and what it isn't. I'm going to say this. One of the things right now, our classroom is not our forest, is not necessarily a classroom. It's just not. It can't be. So if we try to do an analogy of what a classroom is here, like what if I told you when your kids come into school tomorrow, into their classroom with their teacher, they're not going to have access to facilities. We're not going to give them a place to sit. They have to carry all their stuff with them. There's no place to put anything down to write on. Oh, and by the way, the teachers also have nothing to write on, and they have to carry all their supplies and equipment and instructional materials with them. That really wouldn't be a functional classroom, and you can't really do deep learning in that environment. What the forest right now is a place we go for observation, data collection. That is pretty much what we can do, and we also don't have extended periods of time. If we told everybody, you can only learn the material you need for the day in 20 minutes in your classroom, someone would have my job, and the state ed department would probably be really angry with me for not meeting the state requirements for instructional time. But really what this project allows us to do is a few things. One, it extends our time in the forest. It allows for deeper learning. It allows for actual instruction to occur in the forest, which we can't really do right now. Two, we talk about accessibility. Right now, the forest is not accessible for everyone. If we don't have today, tomorrow we may have. There are some students for ambulatory issues, physical issues, they can't make it to the forest. And if we really believe all means all, then we need to make sure that if we're going to do instruction in the forest, that means all of our learners, all of our staff members have equitable access to that environment. And so that's why it's really important to create a parking lot, to create an ADA accessible path, and to create areas for even our neurodiverse kids who may need a place to sit, who can't just be in a forest without some sort of structure and surrounding. That's really important too, that we think that all means all. The other thing is predictable learning conditions. Right now we don't have predictable learning conditions. If I told you that sometimes in your kid's classroom it's maybe muddy on the floor and they can't put their stuff down, that's going to be problematic, right? So what this structure allows us, what a trail that has appropriate drainage allows us to get into the forest in a way that the learning conditions are predictable. So that'll also extend our calendar too, the amount of time that we need to be in there. And lastly is we want to increase the frequency of use. What you'll hear, and you've heard us speak about it, and Mike spoke about it in one of the last meetings, is we are embedding the use of this forest, if it is passed, into our 5-year environmental education plan, into our environmental education curriculum, so that it's not if you want to go, you'll go. There will be specific projects, specific things at the specific grades, so you will be going into the forest. So if we have this, we're able to build that into our curriculum, which we can't really do now because, again, it's not really a learning space. And I really mean this. I mean this sincerely. We love talking about it. We have we can go way more in depth than I am this evening. I am sending out this week a little infographic just about kind of like the ABCs of the immersive classroom project. But if you really want to know more, we're happy to host you. We'll brew some coffee. We have a nice conversation. We have some handouts we can give people. We really enjoy speaking about this project and the benefits that it'll not just have for the students that are here today, but it will have benefits for the students that for years to come. And I think that's a great investment in our school, in our institution, and we're really excited. Just a couple dates, our spring thaw for GSEP. Thank you, GSEP, for all the funds that you raise and the grants that you give. Without them, a lot of the things that we do would not be possible. They're also helping us fund our preschool playground. They're doing a preschool primary school playground. So funds will help support the primary playground, which is in our budget, but we really do need that additional donations to bring that project across the finish line. I already talked about our autism awareness walk. Just for families out there, April 28th, 29th, our grade 5 science test. May 7th, talent show. I've already heard some of the performances that are going to happen. It is a must-see, so please join us on May 7th at 7 p.m. We have incredibly talented students. I just can't wait to see that. Again, May 19th is our budget vote in our board elections. May 29th, the Youth Climate Summit. Again, please come celebrate with us at 4:30. And our first day of school, I'll say it again and again and again, as you start to make summer plans, our first day of school for the 26-27 school year is September 1st. And that is prior to Labor Day. So, any questions that we have regarding the superintendent's report, happy to answer them.
Can I just ask one? It's on the agenda, but I really appreciate and love the forest classroom and all the work that's been put into proposing a design for it. And I think since it's not yet there, it's premature, and I won't be here for the following school year to discuss this. I hope that we consider how we would want to make it available and open to other communities or to the broader Garrison community, and what elements of the proposed design will be open and accessible. I know we can rent our facilities, for example, like the field across the street or the learning commons, which is in our policies, to be able to actually recoup some funding, to the school, which is a great way to then offset tax levies that we propose in the future. I don't know if that's the way we want to go, but I do hope, because I think maybe it's premature to have now, but like that it becomes a discussion item of how can the Garrison community use it, but also how can the Bronx use it, and Peekskill, and other districts around here, because it's going to be so wonderful, and I hope we can share it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, thank you for raising that point, Jocelyn. I do think it's a question for the full board that we will have to consider when we actually get to that point, obviously. But certainly in my view, I view the entire school forest as a community resource. I think if anything, this project will allow us to lean into that even more in terms of trail maintenance, getting more people out there, sharing the school forest and having a dedicated place where we can invite other communities, other schools, other students that can actually support some of these deeper learning initiatives, without having the inconvenience of lack of a bathroom, lack of good parking, lack of accessibility. So, I'm certainly all in favor of making sure that this remains a resource for folks within the community, potentially other school districts. Obviously, we do have a great precedent for that with other elements of our facilities, whether it's the gym that we rent out or the field. So, I think it's a great call. The only question in my mind is, how do we make sure the bathroom remains in relatively good working order? I think that's a relatively small detail that we can figure out. Could be. I think there are elements of that we need to just be thoughtful about and think through. But yeah, I'm totally in agreement. Would love to hear what other people think about that.
I'll just jump in because I remember from one of the committee meetings we talked about. I think we've talked a lot about the classroom, but in my mind, one of the really key things about this project, in addition to the bathroom, is the parking area. Right now, the parking is like you have to have a four-wheel vehicle to get up there. And I know we've had scouting projects and whatnot try and repave it, but it doesn't really work. So they talked about it'll be level, it'll be flat, which will make it more accessible for everyone in the community. And there's a really nice the path we looked at goes off towards the short walk into the classroom, but there's also a nice access point there for the community up to the South Redoubt, which I think will be great, and it'll now be easier hike. But we talked about, Peter, I think you were at this meeting, so you can help me if I'm wrong, that keeping that parking lot open except for during heavy winter when you would need to plow it.
Yeah.
So just throwing a chain, so it would be open. That was part of the committee's initial intent, was that it would be open and accessible to the community for that part. I don't see how you close off the forest classroom. It's just out there. I was thinking about that as you said it. I don't know. I think anyone could walk up and just sit down.
But yeah, but then of course it's welcoming them, right?
Yeah.
So a fifth box up there that says, and
Great, thank you, Greg. So I'm going to continue on with a similar theme for my president's remarks. As Greg said, we have been hearing a lot of feedback from the community, which is great. We love to hear feedback. It's helpful to know that we are not just always talking into a void. But yeah, so I just wanted to sort of recap, given the types of comments that we've been hearing from folks, questions we've been receiving, sort of where we have been with respect to the classroom, outdoor classroom, and where things currently stand. So, the planning process for this really began in earnest during last budget cycle. As folks will remember, we did include a small amount of money in the 2025-2026 district budget to hire our engineering and architecture firm, CPL Architects, to begin this planning process. And then in September, with that funding, then in the budget, we put out a call for volunteers to serve on an outdoor classroom design committee, and ultimately assembled a committee of community volunteers, board members, staff, and the administration to work with CPL Architects, led by our board member Pete Lesser. Over several meetings, the design committee in the fall and through the winter visited potential project sites, considered the appropriate project scope and priorities, and reviewed design proposals from CPL. CPL and the design committee presented their final proposal during our public meeting of February 11th, 2026, which I would encourage people to go review. It's still available on our YouTube page or board docs. People can see the full detailed proposal there. That proposal, as discussed, contemplates an open-air pavilion accessible from Route 403, improved parking access, and a compostable toilet. The board has allocated in this budget, which we will vote on May 19th as a community, approximately $500,000 to move the project into the next phase. As Dr. Stoll mentioned, the project is intended to support equitable access through ADA-compliant pathways and facilities, enable long-term, higher-level environmental science instruction, and provide the infrastructure needed to store materials and sustain extended learning projects, making it genuinely feasible for teachers to bring students into the forest regularly and meaningfully. So that's what we have in front of us for the budget vote that is taking place on May 19th. We have gotten some questions about the land trust proposal. So just to clarify sort of where that stands, after our February 11th meeting where we presented the proposal that CPL and the design committee put together, the land trust reached out to the board to share both their strong support for the outdoor classroom along with an offer to partner with the district in some form on this project. As has been reported and as we've talked about previously, that includes in rough form the donation of additional land to the school forest, as well as the sale of an easement to the land trust that would perpetually restrict development on the combined parcel, which would also result in some funds going back to the district. To be clear, that is not part of the proposal that is in the budget right now, and we do not have a firm proposal from the land trust yet that tells us basically what that would look like in detail. So we're waiting to hear from the land trust still about, with a firm detailed proposal of what that would look like. If and when we receive that proposal, we will present that to the public. We'll have additional board meetings, and if we end up moving forward with selling of an easement, we would have to first put that to the community to proceed. Either way, we would not sell title to the school forest itself. That would remain within the district ownership. It would only be the sale of an easement, which is just a restriction on the deed. So, two main pieces here that I think are just helpful to clarify. The current budget allocates $500,000 for the proposal that was presented on February 11th, which contemplates this facility off of Route 403. If we get a firm proposal from the land trust, we will reevaluate the current proposal and bring that to the public, have a budget or have a public vote if we decide to move forward with the sale of the easement, and reevaluate whether or not there are additional locations that are possible for the outdoor classroom. Any questions on any of that?
So it's my understanding too that with regards to the land trust idea, that we are like in the super early stages of even thinking about what this might be.
Right.
You know, I mean, we've had very early conversations, but there's lots of research to be done still about the land itself that they're thinking about maybe donating to us, if we accept it, and all the other considerations. And so, you know, that discussion is a very, I think, should be done in a deliberate way, thinking about what's in the best interest of the district long term. And I just want to say that, like, it's my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is my question, that this is still like super early. Basically, we don't know much
Yes.
of anything
Yes.
about that. We know a lot about the forest classroom idea, and that seems very solid. And
Yeah.
it might be a great idea, but the land trust thing is just very early.
Right, yep, that's exactly right, and, you know, we have basically shared in real time the information that we have received from the land trust, which is that they came to us after we presented the original proposal, shared their excitement about it, brought the parameters, the rough parameters of this potential partnership. We've had one meeting with them, Pete, as you know, but we have not gotten any of the details. So yes, there are still a ton of details left to be figured out, both on our side and on the land trust side, which is part of what we are waiting for. So, you know, I think it's safe to say that anything related to that element of this plan will be, you know, a couple months. Will be a couple months process at least. Yeah. Any other thoughts about outdoor classroom or anything else? All right, we will move on to item 5, which is discussion of the Lower Hudson Education Coalition electric vehicle or bus petition. This is also going to require a bit of reading on my part, so please bear with me. So a little bit of background on this is that the Lower Hudson Education Coalition has put forth a proposal to basically lobby Albany to delay the electric vehicle bus mandate. So, you know, I think it's, certainly speaking for myself, you know, electric vehicle bus mandate is something that we generally support, that I support certainly, but there are a lot of concerns with respect to the feasibility of this in the near term and the cost to districts. So this resolution, which I will read in full,
He's gonna chance it actually,
yeah.
it'll be fun.
I think thoughtfully lays out some of those concerns, and if we decide to adopt it, we would be one of several districts that is just putting our name associated with this to say that we think more information needs to be collected about the electric vehicle mandate. So, resolution of the Board of Education of Garrison Union Free School District in support of the petition of the Lower Hudson Education Coalition. Whereas the Garrison Union Free School District is a public school district located in Garrison, Putnam County, New York, serving approximately 310 students and operating a fleet of approximately 8 school buses, which are a combination of district-owned and operated by a private contractor. And whereas the district's school bus depot facilities are served by Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corp., an investor-owned electric utility regulated by New York State Public Service Commission. And whereas the Lower Hudson Education Coalition has filed a petition with the New York State Public Service Commission, docketed as yada yada yada, requesting that the commission initiate a dedicated informational proceeding to examine whether the state's investor-owned electric utilities are prepared to deliver the distribution infrastructure necessary to support school bus fleet electrification pursuant to Education Law, Section 3638. And whereas Education Law, Section 3638, enacted as part of the SFY 2022-2023 budget, requires that all new school bus purchases or leases be zero-emission vehicles beginning July 1st, 2027, and that all school buses in operation be zero-emission by July 1st, 2025, a timeline that applies to both district-owned fleets and private transportation contractors. And whereas the Board of Education supports the state's long-term goal of transitioning to zero-emission school transportation and is committed to improving air quality for students and reducing the environmental impact of district operations. And whereas the Board of Education also recognizes its fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of the district and its obligation to ensure that student transportation services remain reliable, safe, and fiscally sustainable throughout this transition. And whereas the district faces significant uncertainty regarding the electric distribution infrastructure necessary to support fleet electrification, including the cost of utility side and customer side upgrades, the timelines for securing new or upgraded electrical service, and the adequacy of coordination with its serving utility. And whereas the district has contracted for but has not yet completed a fleet electrification plan and lacks sufficient data regarding the infrastructure requirements, costs, and utility timelines necessary for responsible capital planning, which underscores the need for a transparent commission-led proceeding to produce the utility-specific information the district requires. And whereas the Board of Education is responsible for capital and planning decisions that often require voter-approved bond referenda and cannot responsibly commit taxpayer funds to fleet electrification without clear and reliable information regarding utility readiness, infrastructure costs, and implementation timelines. Almost there. And whereas concentrating large new electrical loads at school bus depots may affect the reliability and adequacy of electrical service to surrounding homes, businesses, and community facilities that share the same distribution infrastructure, and this board has an interest in ensuring that the transition to electric school buses does not impose undue burdens on the broader community. And whereas a dedicated informational proceeding led by the Commission would provide the transparency, accountability, and utility-specific data necessary for school districts to plan effectively and responsibly for fleet electrification, and would establish enforceable timelines and a coordinated framework that the current ad hoc process lacks. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby expresses its support for the petition filed by the Lower Hudson Education Coalition in case 26-00643 before the New York State Public Service Commission. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education respectfully urges the New York State Public Service Commission to grant the petition and initiate a dedicated informational proceeding at the earliest opportunity to examine electric utility readiness to support school bus fleet electrification across the Lower Hudson Valley and state level. May I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
So I know we can chat about this a little bit. I think just quickly again from my perspective, I think this thoughtfully addresses a difficult problem, which is that we all, I think, support the electrification of the fleet, but what we hear from every district that talks about this and at all these legislative forums that we go to is that the state and utilities and the transportation companies are just not ready for this process, and that the costs in some cases are truly exorbitant and potentially bankrupting for some districts, which is in part because the utilities themselves are not prepared to support the level of electric infrastructure that this requires. So basically, this is just saying the Public Utility Commission needs to study this problem more. Anything else to add, Greg?
Just a few things that I think you mentioned, Dan, but just to reiterate to the community, this petition is not, or this position that the Lower Hudson has, it supports the goal, right? And I think that's really important for everybody to know. But Joe and I were on a meeting as recent as this afternoon with NYSERDA and Atlas Policy Group, and I asked a pretty pointed question about, number one, have they studied the financial impact for all the school districts to not only from an infrastructure standpoint, from changing your fleet to a zero emission, have you done financial modeling on this? And their response was not really something that I could come back to and say the state has a plan. The other thing, second part of my question was, what's your plan to support the cost for the infrastructure upgrades just from the grid? And who's going to bear the burden of that? Is it the taxpayer? Is it the school district? Is it the people who pay the rates? Again, I don't really think that they had a really clear answer. So I think what this petition does is ask the question from the Public Service Commission to really have informational proceedings, to really dig a little bit deeper than just really, I think, admirable goals that I think we can get behind, but really says, like, there are way too many questions from cost and about feasibility in the timelines that law, talks about in terms of when we have to comply with. So I think just your points are well taken, but it's not a repeal request. It's really, let's do our due diligence the right way. Let's look before we leak.
I fully support this because every call I've been on, whether it's with Westmont or different representatives and parents in a lot of districts, that they cannot meet this goal without really exorbitant increases in taxes. And then even if they do that to get the buses, the power simply isn't there. I think there's a lot of frustration about the time and effort districts are putting in, both from an administrative standpoint, from a board standpoint. We're here to look over education, and there's a lot of districts spending a lot of time talking about how we're getting electricity when the state has not stepped in to help, essentially, other than an unfunded mandate. So I think this is a good pushback to say, if you're going to require this of us, help us figure this out. School districts should not be figuring out the power situation for the community. It's just not our role. So I think hopefully, if we add our voice to this, and a lot of other districts too, it'll keep that conversation moving forward. So it's also frustrating that we put a lot of money in this year's budget, but it's taxpayer dollars towards a study that we know is going to come back and tell us we don't have the power. So we're taking money away from education for our small little district to look into this, as required now by the law. So I find that frustrating as well.
Do we know where our state representatives are on this? Are they helping?
Yeah, so we've both, Rollinson's office and Levenberg's office have addressed at least concerns about it. I can tell you from the legislative roundtable that Greg and I attended a couple months ago now with Dana Levenberg. She basically, I think she probably has a very similar position as us, that, she's very supportive of the electric vehicle mandate in general, but she also said basically that she doesn't expect this to go into effect on time. She thinks that it will most likely be delayed. So, I think she stopped short of saying, as I think we would probably too, that it should be repealed, but also I think fully recognize that there are a lot of concerns about the costs and just the feasibility of implementing this at all. And I think Rollison is probably more in favor of more drastic action. I don't know if
He was on one of the forums for last night. He's looking for the data, was my sense, and he was asking districts, what are you finding? How can I help you? And it was actually a very supportive conversation as well. What is your surveys? If you have them, send them to us. Recognizing that a lot of these districts are already going out and doing these surveys to really understand the problem. So I think it's just whether you support it or not, it's not as it is. It's not feasible.
Any other comments?
I think the other thing too is just that the one size fits all mandate presents a lot of different situations or different districts. We're talking about this with Greg, and just the idea that if we had electric buses, they went out in the community, picked everyone, brought them in. If an hour later our power went out, we couldn't get them home. It's just there's certain things, we don't have the contingencies and the backups to do those kind of things in a small district. So it just needs to be a lot more thought put into it by the state before we deliver on this kind of plan.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Did you get the impression from your conversations that there's any appetite to do that homework? And that we're not just kicking the can down the road because it's not feasible, which is fine. It's not feasible. But is anybody actually, from a use going to do those kinds of studies that are required at the state level?
Yeah, so the goal of this is to apply that pressure and get them to do it. So there are a number of, so who signed this? Do we have a list of people that have signed it? I think the goal of this is to just get a long list of school districts that support or adopt this resolution, and then hopefully, push for some sort of study at the state level. So, but certainly there seems to be a recognition that this is a huge feasibility issue. So whether or not they just continue to kick the can down the road or do additional, due diligence or studies, or just get the utilities to provide additional electric infrastructure. Because I think part of the concern is that a place like Garrison, where we're sort of at the end of the electric line, there just is not sufficient infrastructure to support the amount of charging equipment that we would need here. Not to mention the fact we don't even own our own fleet, so. Any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that brings us to our first public comment section. Public comment is intended for members of the community wishing to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with policy 1510 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrator. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided through the appropriate channel. Members of the public wishing to comment during board meetings are asked to place their name and town of residence on the sign-in sheet. Commenters will be invited to the podium to address the board. Any public comment?
I didn't sign anything.
You can come sign here.
Yeah, you're not signing anything.
You tell him, Rory.
Yay. That's no, I can't say anything still. Is that the same camera that was in the cafeteria? Yeah, I think so, Wally.
Thank you. Rory Stark from Garrison.
Yeah.
Yes, we just got some camera back there. Which one? Big boy or little one?
Big one.
Darn it.
All right, thanks. So this is just in regard to the pavilion in the Garrison Woods. I'm all for it. I think it's great. My house more or less backs up to that whole area. I think it's a little bit underutilized, even though it's nice that it's not overutilized. There's a balance that we have to strike there. But I think from speaking with the kids and when they go up there, there's a value to giving them a little more access up there, being able to use the woods more, as long as it's done in like a thoughtful way. By having a nice pavilion where they can do a little bit more outdoor education, having a bathroom there, with some compostable toilets would be nice. I went to a college that really focused on outdoor education a lot. There's a lot of value of being outside and being in nature, especially for science. Even social studies up there, there's a lot of history up there to make it more accessible to kids, and it's really important. It's a special thing that you have it here. So I think it's underutilized and being thoughtfully developed. Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. We will close public comment and move on to the next item, which is acceptance of the minutes. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby accept the minutes of the regular workshop meeting of April 8th, 2026 as presented.
I think there's one down.
Okay. Let me take a motion. May I have a motion? Comment.
So I just noticed under 5, action B, I think there was a typographical error. It was the same person who made the motion and seconded it.
So then we can adopt the minutes as amended.
I can close myself.
Yes.
Thank you for the catch.
I just saw it. I didn't see it this weekend.
Any other comments about the minutes? All in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to item 8, financial reports. Accept treasurer's report and claims audit report. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby accept the treasurer's report for March 2026 and the claims audit report for March 2026 as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Any comments on these? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item 9A, approval of CSE, CPSE recommendations. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District approve the Committee on Special Education and Committee on Preschool Special Education recommendations and student placements. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item 10, PNW BOCES budget vote and board election. Do we should take a pause on this? Or you anything? No?
I mean, I read it.
I'm happy to answer questions. If board members have questions about the proposed BOCES budget as it relates to the Garrison District.
Maybe, Greg, if you would just remind us and the public, what our role is in this process.
Sure. So the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, we are a component district of Putnam, Northern, and Westchester BOCES. It's made up of 18 districts. There's two ways that we're billed for services through that component district. One is like a la carte. If you need a service, you purchase it through a COSA. The other is our we all the 18 own the BOCES. We own the land, we own the programs, we're all part of that. And every year they assess what is our proportionate share of their capital and their administrative costs. So we'll just tell you this, there's a minimal increase of about just under $2,000 on our administrative costs for the district, and a $921 increase in our capital component of that. So we're literally talking about a $3,000 increase for the general operations of our proportionate share of the administration and the capital. So it's really a nominal increase. They do a remarkable job. They're one of our partners, but that is available to the public to see what our costs are.
And we make very good use of their services.
We do.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Whereas so this is the PNW BOCES budget vote. Whereas the Board of Cooperative Educational Services of Putnam, Northern Westchester County has proposed its tentative administrative budget for the 2026-2027 school year, July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Now therefore be it resolved that the BOCES tentative administrative budget for the 2026-2027 school year in the amount of $12,679,000 be and hereby is approved by the Garrison Board of Education. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can I just make one comment?
Yep.
That's not our cost. I just want
Right.
that is cost for all the 18.
Yep.
Just to be very clear, our cost for the administrative capital is $117,000 and change, and our the administration component, our capital is $18,000.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
Sorry, I should have said that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to the PNW BOCES board member election. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby cast its vote for the following candidate to fill one vacancy on the Putnam Northern Westchester Board of Cooperative Educational Services for a 3-year term commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2029. We have one candidate, and it is Richard Krebs of Carmel. May I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Same.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, the personnel items. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, does hereby approve the items of the personnel consent agenda as presented and subject to the earlier agenda modification. What?
B through H.
Yes, so it's B through H that we are voting on now. Greg, do you want to speak to any of these other personnel items?
Just briefly, this is for our summer scholar staff, for our ESY staff, and professionals that support those programs too. I just want to thank them all. We have a robust program and we couldn't do it without our staff members wanting to work in the summer. We all deserve a break. These educational warriors come back and do it again for the summer. So I want to just personally thank them for their dedication to our students in the summer months.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about any of the personnel items? All in favor? Oh,
Motion.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to new business. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the new business items as presented. May I have a motion?
Second.
I can speak to any
Okay.
and all of these if you want.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so, first item is a letter acknowledging our intent to renew with our contracts with Orange County Transit for the next school year. It just gives them some confidence that we're going to continue to do business as usual. That is based upon the contract being increased by the CPI, which is going to be released after May is done, because it's the May CPI number. And then once that is published, we can put all the rest of the contracts we need before the board to approve them. But this is helpful for them to be able to maintain their staff and let them know that they're going to continue for next year, and for us to lock up our transportation for the following year as well. That's the first one. And then we have a request to sign a IPA agreement for next year, which is going to be the purchase of our new wireless access points that are at the end of life at the end of the month of June. So this is a agreement that has that we put with the BOCES. It has a plan that allows us to pay for that over a 3-year period, but we can prepay it if we'd like, because most likely what we want to do is pay it off in next year's budget and then make room for some other stuff in the following years. And then the last item is a annual agreement for the health services for students that live in Garrison but attend private schools and other schools.
Great, thank you, Joe. Any questions or comments?
I have a question on health services. Who sets the rate? Is it set by statute, or do schools get to set that rate? It's just creeping up there in the amount we're sending them.
It's a formula that's based upon the cost on a per pupil basis for maintaining health and welfare services based upon the cost of certain staff and services that are in the district divided over the number of students that the district serves, including the private parochial students. And they figure out on a per pupil basis what that cost is, and that's what they invoice it to. And there's a formula that they send us to tell us how that works.
So it gets more expensive if their staffing gets more expensive?
Yes.
I've always been curious about this. What exactly do they do? Is it?
What they will do is provide any physicals or things that are required of students that are in the private schools. They may provide speech and language services or other special education services to the private school students that are Garrison students, which if they were in Garrison, we would have to pay for that. So that's how it.
It's just kind of a retainer just in case they need anything.
So it's a little bit different. I used to do this in other districts. So if you have a private or parochial school within your district bounds, let's talk about health service, nursing services, right? School nurses, you're responsible to provide those services, either through a contract or through your own personnel. So depending on how many you have in your district, how you staff that out, whether you contract out nursing services in that building, whether you hire your own staff member because it's more cost effective or not, and you send a nurse to that building, then what Joe said is you take what it costs for those private parochial schools for that district, because they outlay the money to pay for the health services for that school district, divided by the number of kids that they serve, and then whatever our proportionate share is, how many kids we send there. So if we had a private or parochial school within our bounds, we would be providing health services for those kids, and we would bill back the districts from when they originated.
But in terms of, do you mean provide the actual nurse?
Yes, provide the nurse or contract out, or have a
So the
provision where.
nurse that sits in the office in
Yeah,
the school
yeah.
is provided by the public school.
Right,
So
and-
Dobbs Ferry provides masters their nurse.
Yeah, or master's contracts with it and bills back the district, whatever the arrangements are, it's the district in which the private or parochial school is located to have the provision of health services for those private or parochial schools, by whatever means it needs to, again, contract personnel or some sort of agreement they have with the district to staff themselves and bill back the district of location.
And depending upon what, who all is involved in providing those services, there are other titles that are also billed through on the bill. So it is multiple titles besides nursing.
Right.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
I think I've been wondering about that for like 4 years, and I just haven't asked.
It's probably really like interesting like history to that one statute and like how did this section come to be that public schools are paying for private school expenses?
Well, it's just like we have to pay for transportation. for
Yes, like
schools, too.
that I learned the history of that recently in textbooks, yeah.
There's a lot of variability depending upon the staffing costs of the district. So, if we have students that would go to I forget the name of the school that's in Pauling, but like that, the rate there is a lot lower than some of the stuff that we might be in Westchester. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about the new business items? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Moving on to second public comment. No, okay. All right, well, let's keep going. Board member comments, Jocelyn. Eric?
Yeah, just real quickly, earlier today I was exchanging some messages with a friend and colleague in California who's very involved in their school district. And she was telling me why they're leaving it. And it was, I can't repeat some of the things that their family and their kids are experiencing in those classrooms, but the main word that comes to mind is sad, if not horrific. And it just was a reminder to me of how lucky we are here in this district. A lot of the failings of their administration are just things that we would never see here, but also, again, just a reminder of how wonderful our administration is and how our teachers and just, again, how great a job you guys did in securing a highly recommended Spanish teacher. So, so thank you for that win and keeping up amazing work that we're just really just so fortunate to enjoy here. So thank you.
Here, here. Thanks, Eric. Who's next? Jen.
No comment.
For me, I hope I will see some of you at the spring thaw. Looking forward to it. Thank you to GSAC for putting it on. And also just a reminder to everybody that we have one more board meeting before the budget vote on May 19th. We'd love to hear from our community if people have questions or concerns about anything in the budget. Pete.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the Forest Classroom, and gotten some questions from people about it. And for anyone out there who's listening in the community, one thing that I've learned in the last couple of years being on the board, with this administration, Greg and Mike, Joe and Allison, nothing happens unless there's a really clear plan, an educational plan for everything that we do. And sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating because it means that there's more discussion, things are slower to happen at times. But I think that's really the right way to do things. It's prudent for taxpayers, but it's really important for our students. And so that's what I'm most excited about with this Forest Classroom project, is not that it's gonna be, you know, a beautiful spot in the woods, but that it really has an educational purpose and is built into the education of students. It's not just a nice to have. This is gonna be a central thing, for a central place where students can learn. And that is what this is all about. This is not a luxury item. This is something that really is part of our community, and hopefully we can build it more into the community. But it's going to be a really big part of students' lives that they're going to talk about probably for the rest of their lives. So thank you for making such a strong plan, building into the educational purpose of the school. That's what this is really all about.
Thanks, Pete. Kent?
No.
Sarah?
So welcome to Ms. Haley Colombo. I think I am very impressed that we were able to secure a teacher who has that much experience and been tenured previously. Really quite an accomplishment. So I'm excited to have her in the district. And I also just want to say I'm excited for what the outdoor classroom could offer us. And I really appreciate the process that the administration and everyone else who collaborated really listened to the teachers. I think that's something that we've worked to incorporate into the budget process in the last few years. And I think it's been great. I mean, part of the reason we're including the composting toilet is because that's what they've asked for in the forest. So I think that's really important to recognize. And I'm very excited. I think it's in the next meeting, that we have the curriculum presentation for the outdoor classroom, or maybe it's in June. Sometime in the future, we're going to have this curriculum presentation that we've been working on in the committee that I think does answer a lot of these questions, because there are these really in-depth plans that you can see, even just in the language that Ms. Piccoli uses throughout her curriculum mapping of how a child goes from an observer to an active participant over the course of their years. The language changes throughout the curriculum now. It's something I was really impressed with. Like, there's a lot of thought that went into this and what they're doing in the forest. So that's all I've got.
May 6th. May 6th,
6th,
we'll be
right.
unveiling our 5-year environmental education.
So anybody who is watching out there, don't miss it. It's really great.
TV.
This
That's
is
better than an audit committee?
Nothing's better than an audit. But second to an audit committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. We do not have executive session tonight, so we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby adjourns the regular meeting of April 21st, 2026. May I have a motion? So. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you all. Great.